On the profile interview segment this week, I'll be speaking with the General Secretary of the Nigerian Union of Electricity Employees, Comrade Joe Ajaero. He brought us up to speed on some of the challenges electricity workers are faced with and the need for decent work in the country. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
It's been a while we've had a conversation.
Yeah, duty calls
And a lot has been happening in the electricity sector.
daily.
So, and with the look of things, first I would like to ask you, the strike that was embarked on some few days ago was suspended for 2 weeks. Would you like to share with us if there's been any further negotiation since the union announced the suspension of the strike?
Well, the basis for the suspension of the strike was to enable a committee work for 2 weeks to look at all the issues raised and report back to the full house. So, and the committee is working, and from our members in the committee, we are getting hint. I think they still have another meeting by next week, but by our own estimation, 1 week ought to have expired. But they came up with agreement on the issue of 1 week being from the time the committee was commenced work was inaugurated. So based on that, I think they said they still have another meeting either Tuesday and Thursday. So we are watching.
So far, what's been the feedback?
Oh, the feedback is that all the issues are being addressed, and then when they finish, we'll have an MOU, areas of agreement and areas of disagreement. Some of these issues are being trashed, but part of the problems are mainly administrative issues on the issue of the letters from either head of service, or not.
So are you saying that there is a possibility that there will be no need for the strike to be resumed?
That is the prayer of every unionist in most instances. We don't pray for strike. Strike is difficult to manage. If you study strike management, it's difficult, it's expensive, both human and material resources. So you don't wish to embark on strike, and that's why it's not frequent. But when it becomes the last resort, then it takes place. So we have been praying that we should face other things and not those issues raised, because those issues are threat. They are threat issues. If not for the laxity or of most people in government, that strike wouldn't have been there, because there was an agreement in 2013 on the issue of payment. There was an agreement again to reinforce it after another strike in 2019. And before the Speaker of the House of Rep, who brokered that meeting, I said they will not implement. He said they will implement. We argued. He said 3 months that they will implement. From 2019 to 2012 and 22, they didn't implement. We went back. And I've been expecting the House of Rep to say something between that time and now. Nothing has happened. For 3 years. So it was avoidable. And the issue of the circular form, a letter from the head of service. A letter is not a circular. If you write for advice, and the letter is given to you as advice, it cannot translate to, a circular that will be implemented, especially when the person that sought for that advice is from another organization, independent. You can now take it to mean a circular for the implementation in another sector. It doesn't happen. And for those of us who now wrote to say, okay, head of service, please, can we have, a clarification on this? For 5-6 months, we wrote so many letters asking for clarification before the issue of ultimatum and all that. And they came to the meeting to tell us that head of service doesn't reply unions. Now, in such a situation, what's the solution? If you have act on the action we did for a few hours, because our action was few hours,
Not
No,
Not
not, no,
24
it wasn't up
hours.
to 24 hours. Less than 6 hours.
12 hours.
Uh, Less than 12 hours, 6 hours. The action started around 12 in the afternoon, and we had a meeting by around 4 5. The issue is that if we start action for 1 hour now, if it takes off, now for us to bring back, may take some hours again. That's the issue. So that period of hour for it to come back, people will be counting it. But if you take the time when the action was called off, and will now go into the field to restore, that's the period that elapsed.
The organized private sector says that trillions was lost due to the strike. It can be quantified because we have manufacturers, we have people that do business that actually use the electricity supply.
Well, I was hearing some were saying, uh, especially those in the power sector, were saying how many billion, and maybe you say the organized private sector are saying trillions. But one good thing is that the action brought the importance of the sector to public glare. That same organized private sector will tell you that they have resorted to generator before now. That same organized private sector were telling us that investors are leaving to Ghana and nearby countries because of the power situation in the country. They didn't tell us that they were even hooked to the national grid in what is happening in the country now. And this argument has been on. In most instances, when we issue notices, it is trivialized. That after all, we are not getting light before. If they lie, let them go on. Are they even working? They're always on strike. Those comments, you hear it. But when it now takes 1 hour, the same people, the same set of people that will say, after all, we are not getting supply, if they like, they are permanently on strike, all those comments. The same number of people who quote trillions. It then means there is no sincerity in what is happening in the country. It then means that hen that lays the golden egg, nobody is taking care of it. That is the more reason why if we give notice, at times I don't give notice for only 2 weeks or 3 weeks as required by law. We give it, we allow it, we give it again, we give it again. The same people that are talking that they are losing trillions will not put pressure to bear on the people concerned to say, sort this thing out. It will have a larger implication on us. So they can quote trillions. I didn't know that even the organized private sector are making trillions. And that will equally help us to understand how much tax they are paying. If they make trillions in a day, if they lose trillions in a day, that means Nigerian economy will be booming. I'll be interested in knowing how many trillions they make in a day, and we multiply it by a month and look at the tax. Is it 7.5% or whatever of such amount, in a year? So it's interesting. Let them come up officially with how much they lost.
Okay, sampling opinions of ordinary Nigerians on the streets, on social media, there's a mixed reaction. Some of the view that, oh, if they are going on strike for their welfare, we all should be on strike. There should be total shutdown of activities in the country. They are not the only ones impacted. So also another set of people are saying, when last do you have power supply? What are we generating in terms of power? Do we even have electricity in this enough power to run or fuel the economy? How would you react to this?
Like I said, it's a mixed grill. There is no consensus opinion on when any particular set of workers should go on strike. It's exclusive to the people, that are injured, that are old, that are being maltreated. The country does not tell you when to go on strike. The people on the street will not tell you when to go on strike. In fact, most instances, even after a strike is called, most people in the country, greater percentage, wouldn't even know why the people went on strike. It's between them and probably the employers in that sector. So that is why when some of them subject it to public opinion, which it is not, it becomes a problem. And that brings you to the essential nature of the sector, you know. And when they say essential, people don't understand, you know. Essential is the service you render. And then that is why the people that render such services are taken care of, you know, because they render a very essential service. Now, there used to be a time we had master-servant relationship as employment relationship, you know. When the colonial masters and others, you must work. Even by that time, the 8-hour work has not come into play. Until employment relationship change to employer-employee relationship. So, and what is clear is that an employer or an employee can withdraw his services if he doesn't, you know, feel like working again. He can.
Looking at the sector generally, it seems to be that strike is the only language that government understand. For example, ASUU has been on strike for 6 months. Aside strike, what do you think are the other ways that unionists can get fair hearing from government? And what do you think the government needs to also do to ensure that they don't even also push unionists towards always embarking on industrial action just to get justice and fairness?
Well, I think something is clear. If you check every facet of our socio-economic development, you see this lapse. Every facet. It has nothing to do with the education sector. Nothing at all. Whether it's infrastructure, you know, power sector, everywhere. But most importantly, in a relationship where one party knows and the other doesn't know, you cannot relate. Where somebody is speaking Spanish and another person is speaking English, they cannot relate. That is something that is clear. You will see unionists speaking the language, and those on the other side of the divide don't understand the language. Then there is stalemate ab initio. You know, there is stalemate ab initio. Now, the Minister of Education, is he well grounded to relate with ASUU and their demands? That brings you to the issue of take a bow, take a bow, take a bow, when these people are being screened. The last time I was told that he was away, you know, why this ASUU strike is on. He has been away. So who do you expect ASUU to speak with? If you are going to go into an agreement with an organization, this equally does not require expertise. If we agree that at the end of the month, we are going to pay you 20 naira, please, for goodness sake, at the end of the month, pay 20 naira. That is the common thing in this ASUU issue. You can't renege. When you renege, you are treating the others with contempt. You are telling them you can go to hell. And the level of social disposition we have in this country, that inflation level has reached this level, and government, as a responsible government, will have to put 1 naira, not based on any prompting by union, but to cushion the effect caused by inflation or even the devaluation of the currency. Since you are earning 200,000, let's pay you 230,000 on their own. It's not there. So there's nothing happening. Even all the logic you are going to bring to the table, every human being in this country, you don't need to be a statistician or an economist to know that if somebody is earning 30,000 naira a month and the loaf of bread is 1,000 per loaf, and that person cannot live on 1 loaf of bread for 30 days with the family, no housing, nothing. Do you need anybody to say this? Until those people start to say, oh, it's killing us, it's biting us. So these are issues. When you have a government with kind of social orientation, you know, to care about the people. Oh, this 30,000, oh, how can somebody survive on it? Even on transportation alone. What of housing? What of the school fees? If you look at that, you won't even propose 30,000 for such people. But when you do that, you have created a foundation for agitation from the beginning. So that's the situation. It has nothing to do with ASUU. There are many, almost all the unions in this country have one problem or the other. They have one failed promise based on agreement with government that is not fulfilled. And it continues that way.
Honoring collective bargaining agreement is key.
Very sacrosanct.
And of course, people need to earn better wage for less agitation. That I would take as take home. But before I let you go, some of the concerns that, most of the concern that NUI has as regards the issue between TCN and the workers all have to do with welfare. To wrap it up, what more do you think needs to be done to ensure that decent work is being promoted generally, as most especially looking at the fact that Nigeria is also part of the International Labour Organization, and we respect laws and orders as regards what affects workers?
We are not matching the number of experts and graduates we are producing with the chances of securing job. There is no conscious master plan in terms of how to handle our manpower. Nothing. And that makes room for employers, to employ people at no condition at all. Of late, even the Ministry of Labour is now institutionalizing casual work, outsourcing. They are giving people, those they call labor consultants or labor employees or whatever, they are giving them licenses, labor recruiters, to recruit and supply to employers of labor. And those people is common in banks, it is entering the power sector, it's existing in the oil and gas. Now, those people, their duty, they employ staff, and then if they employ them, the company will, maybe the bank will pay them maybe 150, using this as a case study, 150, and they will in turn pay the other people maybe 80,000, take away 70,000. In that order, they can work for them for 6 months, 1 month, 7 months, they ask them to go. In the first instance, they are being exploited. The people who are the middlemen will collect 70,000 on the head of somebody who is not a banker. That person is not a banker, but is a staff provided to the bank. After 6 months, they take him away. By that, he doesn't have any medical access to medical facilities, no pension, nothing. So that is what is causing this issue of, a precarious job that we are noticing in this country. Despite the fact that Nigeria is a signatory, that issue, it will be difficult for it to be avoided again. It has come to live with us. And they are telling you that government has no business in business. And government is, I don't know how to explain government involvement in the economic activities of this country. You see a government that sold the power sector and they say they have no business in business, and the same government put 2 trillion in that sector. When it was under government control, they have never put even 200 billion. They have never. And they say they have no business in business, and they hand over. And they now brought subvention of 2 trillion. Look at what is happening in the aviation industry now. Government has no business in business. How much are they giving to foreign airlines in a sector that they say they don't have business in business, and they are paying more? Who is deceiving who? One doesn't understand the economic policy we are running. In the oil and gas sector, they are trying to run it. They say they are providing subsidy. They are providing subsidy, running to trillions. And you won't tell us how much it costs to equally refine product. And you saw the young people refining products on their own, and you are arresting them. So what is really happening? And I have said it time without number. Can you license them? Can you bring regulatory mechanism to check whether what they are refining is good? You can even ask them to pay, monthly or annually, for the refining they are doing. And then you bring experts to look at it. There are over 5 universities producing keys on a petrochemical engineering, and you can't allow them to practice there. You rather go and bring back what has been refined abroad, and you act all the costs, and you say we should pay, or that you are paying a subsidy. That doesn't make sense.
Thank you very much for your time.
Bless you.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember that labor creates wealth.